a book of Revelation kind of tour of, we opened up, kind of speaking, going over the general order of prophecy, right?
Yeah.
And I think the Judah and Israel thing, maybe if you could, is anyone curious why the differentiation between Judah and Israel? Or you are?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he spoke about both, and I wondered if anyone's saying, why are they divided like that? Maybe
Yeah.
you could go
It is
with the, why in prophecy there's a differentiation between Israel and Judah.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay?
Good question.
Okay, the question was, what is the difference between Judah and Israel? After Solomon, as you probably read, the kingdom of Israel, the United Kingdom of Israel, was divided up into the kingdom of Judah and the kingdom of Israel. So anytime you hear or see the word Jew, it's really referring to Judah, the kingdom of Judah. So when it says Christ was talking to the Jews, it would mean he's talking to people from Judah. Whereas Israel would actually be the northern kingdom, and their capital was Samaria. So Samaria is the capital of Israel, just like Washington, D.C. is that capital. And Jerusalem is the capital of Judah.
Huh.
And there was a rivalry between the north and the south, just like there is in the United States. We have some northerners here tonight. And then we have some southerners here. And there was a rivalry between the north and the south. In fact, when Christ, who is from Judah, the king of Judah, meets the woman at the well, who is from Israel, she brings up, where do you worship, how do you worship, and who do you worship? And he's saying, you know, you're concentrating on this temple, but I'm telling you the truth. There's coming a day where you must worship God in spirit and in truth. And we worship in Jerusalem because we're the Jews, and salvation is of the Jews, which means salvation comes from the kingdom of Judah. So really the most unique export in the world of any kingdom is salvation, and it only comes from the kingdom of Judah. You cannot get salvation from the kingdom of Israel, which is why all of Christ's disciples are from the kingdom of Israel, except for him. He's from the kingdom of Judah. Except for one pretender who might fit the profile he was talking about in the introduction, is Judas is actually from Judah. And think about how awkward, well, in retrospect, how awkward that was in the upper room. There's disciples from Galilee, from Israel, and only Judah, right, is represented by Christ, but Judas is saying he's from Judah. And it was really awkward when you think about it, because he couldn't be from Judah. Right? So it was bizarre. He was the 13th, which means rebellion, which means there's going to be a problem, and there was, as we know what it is. But what's interesting is today, even today, it's misused. People say they're Jews. They may not be Jews. They may be Israelites. They may not be from the tribe of Benjamin or the tribe of Judah, which are the two tribes that comprise Judah. And then the other 10 tribes out of the 12 comprise Israel. Right? And Levi was the tribe in the middle, in the midst of the camp. 3, in the midst. Right? So that would be the distinction politically. And also, soteriologically speaking, you know, the Israelites didn't like the fact that salvation did come out of Judah. They were going about to establish their own righteousness. And sometimes the metaphor of Ephraim as a stubborn heifer, Hosea talks a lot about Ephraim as a stubborn heifer, where you have to put a yoke on a stubborn heifer to get the heifer to do what you want. And Christ said to Ephraim, to Israel, take my yoke upon you, my yoke is light. Meaning, I have to offer the yoke to Israel. You have to take my yoke. I'm going to guide your path. So Israel resented that salvation did come out of Judah. So that's the distinction there politically. And as you know about Jeroboam and Rehoboam, well, the difference in the two kingdoms there. All right.
Maybe you can discuss Netanyahu.
Yeah, Netanyahu, it's interesting, the tribe of Benjamin. The tribe of Benjamin throughout redemptive history is very interesting, because it starts actually with the birth of Benjamin on the way to Bethlehem Ephratah. And Rachel dies giving birth to Benjamin.
Wow.
She actually dies giving birth to
I know
Benjamin.
that.
And then from that point forward, Benjamin has a unique role in redemptive history. Benjamin becomes the guardian of Judah. And you see that with Joseph, with Benjamin being the lad, the youngest, when Joseph says, Benjamin must come also. And then you see it, what's interesting is, you see it also with Jonathan, who is a Benjamite. He's the prince of Israel. Jonathan is the next king of Israel because his father's the king. So he's the prince of Israel, and then God's going to anoint Judah, David. And Saul, as you know, the rivalry between Saul and David, is really eclipsed by the fact that Jonathan has this agape love, this Philadelphian love for David, and realizes that the line is going to be through Judah. And they make an everlasting covenant between themselves and all their descendants through history, that Benjamin will always protect Judah. And what's interesting, Jerusalem is actually given to the tribe of Benjamin, not to the tribe of Judah. So what happens is Mordecai and Esther are from the tribe of Benjamin, and they're trying to save all the Jews that are in the Persian Empire. Right? So we're going to fast forward, just fast, all the way up to Paul. So Paul is the only apostle that literally says, my tribe is Benjamin. So when Christ himself, who is the king of Judah, says to Paul, who's from Benjamin, why do you persecute my church? The first thing Paul says, what do you want me to do? And the reason Paul says, what do you want me to do, Lord, is he realizes he's from Benjamin. And he knows he has this enormous responsibility on his shoulders, coming from the tribe. He's supposed to be protecting Judah, not attacking Judah. Wow. And he's been attacking Judah. And the reason he attacks Judah is, when Benjamin is born, he's first named Ben-Oni, which means son of sorrows. And then Jacob names him Benjamin, which means son of my right hand. So Paul goes from a son of sorrows attacking to the son of God's right hand. So that prophecy is in Jacob, Genesis 49. And Moses even gives a tribal blessing to Benjamin and says that basically he's going to be the protector of Judah. And this is why Jeremiah is seen as the protector of Jerusalem. He writes Lamentations. He's from a Benjamite city. He says, I'm here to protect Judah. He cries for Judah. He weeps for Judah. So these prophets are all types of Christ. Paul was a type also. Any questions?
How's that?
That's just a brief history of
Yeah, I
Benjamin.
didn't know any of that. That's awesome.
A brief history of Benjamin.
Right. Wow.
Now we're going to go back to the great prophecy of Isaiah. Now Isaiah is a prophet commissioned by God. He holds the office of a prophet. He's sent to kings and nations. And the Lord himself gives him a prophecy about a virgin, a conception, and a birth. And the reason this is important is Isaiah basically means Yeshua saves. Because Isaiah in Hebrew would be Yeshua Yahu, which means Jesus saves, Yeshua saves. So Isaiah is a type of Christ. And in fact, in the New Testament, no book is more quoted from than the book of Isaiah. It's the most quoted from book in the New Testament. And there is a reason why. Isaiah is a great type of Christ. So Isaiah gives a prophecy to Ahaz. And the prophecy is interesting because the Lord says, go to him, and I want you to go to a specific spot when you utter this prophecy to Judah. And he tells him in Isaiah 7, and I believe the verse is verse 3. Then said the Lord unto Isaiah, go forth now to meet Ahaz, thou and thy son. Now his son's name is very interesting because it means in English, a remnant shall go up or ascend.
Oh, wow.
A remnant shall go up or ascend. And the day that Isaiah is making this prophecy is the Feast of Trumpets.
Oh,
Wow. Yay!
Now this is important. I'll tell you why this is important. This is important because he tells Isaiah, you must stand at the upper conduit or aqueduct of this pool. And the pool is known as the pool, and the word pool in Hebrew is Bechariah. Bechariah. The pool of the virgin. The pool of the virgin. And the reason is he's going to give a prophecy about a virgin birth. So he's standing at a pool, and he's going to give a prophecy about a virgin birth, about Messiah being born. Now why this is important is when I read John 5 at the beginning, that place where Christ is standing in Bethesda is the same exact spot where Isaiah was standing.
Wow.
And he is that birth that Isaiah is talking about. And he's saying, you know how Isaiah prophesied of me when he was standing on the spot? Here I am standing on this very spot. The very spot where Isaiah was standing, I'm standing here. Right? And he's standing there on the Feast of Trumpets. Christ is standing there on the Feast of Trumpets. So that's important.
Wow.
Now, what's also interesting is right now in Hebrew history there's a unique military problem, and that is that the King of Syria is about to come down and attack Judah. And actually they want to install a puppet king on the throne of Judah. And Isaiah sent to warn Ahaz that if you listen to the Lord, if you listen to what he says, you have nothing to fear. But he says that he's going to try to come down and attack Judah. And that's exactly what's going on today. Syria is in a state of chaos, just like it was there. And their ambitions through Iran is to establish a caliphate in Jerusalem, to get the Shia Muslims to get an Ottoman Empire, a new Ottoman Empire established in Jerusalem. Right? The Sunnis aren't really zealous about going to Jerusalem. They want to keep Mecca as the capital, but the Shias want Jerusalem to be the capital of Islam. And herein lies the problem, because it's going to come through Syria just like it did in the days of Ahaz. And what Isaiah prophesies is the man, the Son of Man, who's going to stop this name is Yeshua, the son of David. He's the only one that can stop this. And that means in the last days, the only one who's going to stop it is the King of Judah when he comes back. And Isaiah is actually prophesying of this on this spot. Now, the reason this is important is when Isaiah prophesies, he actually tells, in a Hebrew idiom, he tells Ahaz this, unless you are willing to stand up, your dynasty will fall. So you got to be willing to stand up. And what's interesting is Christ is telling the man at the same pool to stand up and rise and walk. So it's the same theme going on. He's telling them you must stand up and walk. All right? Now his son's name is interesting because it says a remnant shall go up. And it's referring to this spot, which is in Jerusalem. And if you go to Jerusalem and you go to Bethesda, what you'll see there is you'll see David's citadel, and you'll see the upper concourse. You can see the actual colonnades, the remnants of the colonnades, and you can actually see where Isaiah was standing and where Christ was standing. You can actually see the spot. And it's right by the sheep gate. Jerusalem is known by its gates, and it's right by the sheep gate. Now, also what's interesting here is when he gives this prophecy, he tells Isaiah to make sure you bring your son and he stands next to you. Because Isaiah's son represents us, the remnant, that's going to go up during the rapture. But there's someone else in the background, and unless you pay attention to the chronology here, you're going to miss it. There's actually a prince standing in the background, and his name is Hezekiah. And Hezekiah is listening to everything that's being said by Isaiah. And Ahaz is not listening, nor is he taking his advice. Because we know that Ahaz tried to make a covenant with the king of Assyria to protect him rather than the Lord. And he said, your dynasty will end here unless you listen to me. And we know that Hezekiah became the righteous king. And Ahaz actually offered incense to Baal and all the other things. We're not going to go through a litany of the list, but we know the things that he did. But this is prophetic. Now Christ, when he's standing on the same spot that Isaiah prophesied about the virgin, here's the very interesting thing, is God says to Isaiah, tell Ahaz to pick a sign to prove that this is going to happen. And he says to Ahaz, Isaiah says this, ask thee a sign of the Lord. And he says, from the heights above, an astronomical sign. Just ask for it and the Lord will show it to you. To show you that he's going to do this. And then Isaiah says, because Ahaz did not ask for the sign, Isaiah says he's going to give an even greater sign in the heavens. And that sign is the picture of the virgin birth in the constellation. And we know that because it later says that the Lord himself shall give a sign. And I want to read this. It says, therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son. Conceive and bear a son. And thou shalt call his name Emmanuel. Now this is interesting because the word sign used here means an astronomical sign. It's a very unique Hebrew word, which means that that astronomical sign is going to appear at Christ's conception. At Christ's conception, all right? And then there's going to be a sign at his birth, all right? At his first coming. And then what's interesting here is there's a far fulfillment that there'll be another sign at the rapture, at the going up, which Isaiah's son represents. So the history is playing out right in front of Ahaz, the actual history. Meaning you can actually see this going on. But Isaiah is talking about the far fulfillment, the prophecy, which is what we're talking about now. So all these types are right there.
So it's a law of double reference.
Yeah, near and far fulfillment. But what's interesting with Christ, it's talking about his actual conception, all right? And Gabriel does announce that, and there is a sign, because Luke tells you there's a sign. When Gabriel is talking to Mary, there's literally a sign in the heavens that there's a conception taking place.